All right, well, welcome to Neighboring 101. This is the class where we talk with leaders in the neighboring movement from all across the United States and discover ways that organizations and individuals can use the art and skill of neighboring as part of community and personal development. That's the goal of the class. Hey, today marks kind of I think, an exciting milestone. A couple of them. We're entering into our fifth year of this class. The first session was on October 21st, 2020. Hard to believe it was that long ago. So, welcome to the fifth year of Neighboring 101. But the other milestone is that thanks to a new partnership from Neighborhoods USA, every member of that organization can now attend Neighboring 101 and access past classes. So if you're new on here today and a member of Neighborhoods USA, welcome. That added almost 500 people to our list of participants in Neighboring 101. Just want to highlight very briefly, and then we'll give the rest of the time over to our speaker. Um, the classes that are coming up. Our next one on February 20th, we'll welcome a panel of people who were either nominated or were winners for the Most Engaged Neighbor Award in Missouri, and we'll hear their stories and learn from their experiences of engaging their neighbors and neighborhoods. Our panel is already set. We have a participant from Maplewood, which is near St. Louis, from Rogersville, from Kansas City, and from Springfield, and a nice cross section of experiences. So I think you'll gain some new ideas from that group. And then on March 13th, which is the second Thursday of March, not the third as we normally do, but the second Thursday, March 13th, our guest will be Pete Davis. Uh, Pete and his sister are the directors of the movie Join or Die, which you can now watch on Netflix. And he is also the author of a book called Dedicated, which looks at the impact of what he calls long haul heroes, people that stick with it and go the long haul. Really would recommend the book and the documentary if you have a chance to see those. And then we have other classes coming up this year that we'll announce later on conflict resolution and the art of gathering and all sorts of fun things. Now, today's session will last about an hour, and then after our speaker, if you have time to stay on line, I'll open up two or three breakout rooms depending on the participant level, and you can enter into those breakout rooms and introduce yourself and maybe meet somebody new and get some new contacts from this group as well. The chat is open. You're always welcome to post comments and questions in there. Well, our guest today is Jesse Czech. He's the visionary behind Neighborhood.Exchange. He and I met briefly at last year's Neighborhoods USA convention in Lubbock, Texas. He's the co-founder of Neighborhood.Exchange, and he also does change management for the universities of Wisconsin. But as the driving force behind Neighborhood.Exchange, we're going to learn more today about that. It's a platform designed to bring communities closer together through collaboration and connection. He has a real passion for empowering local communities. And Jesse's sort of the creator of this innovative tool, but he created out of a need, out of his own experience. And I think you'll hear that today and learn a lot from his own experiences and what he did as a change agent to make his neighborhood more successful. So I'm anxious for you all to meet him and learn from his experiences and background. So please help me welcome Jesse Czech.
Thanks, David. Thanks for
Yeah.
that wonderful introduction. I'm just going to get my screen sharing situated here, and then we'll get things kicked off.
All
And
right.
again, thanks for inviting me to this opportunity here. It's great to see so many faces from around the areas, and really excited to chat here. Okay, so I'm going to pull this up here, and we'll get started. I have lots of chances where we'll chat and kind of open up for some conversations. I'm going to keep an eye on the chat here. And I assume everybody's relatively familiar with just using some of the basic features. If you aren't, just ask for some help and happy to provide that. So Thanks again, David. Thanks everybody for being here. There's been a real recognition of opportunities for local organizations and how we can kind of shift the needle in our own community and city. And we also really acknowledge the struggles of getting there. There's a lot of people that's involved. There's a lot of planning. There's a lot of logistics. There's a technology piece of this that all have to work together on the premise of a lot of volunteer time and resources. So while I think that there's great opportunities to make huge impacts, it's also a really large challenge to move the needle through all those obstacles. And today, my point here is to kind of share the story of Westmoreland Neighborhood Association, the neighborhood that I belong to, that I'm part of. My interest has turned into almost an obsession with trying to move the needle in terms of connecting and building a social fabric and connectivity within our neighborhood. So here we are. I'm here to talk about leveling up the neighborhoods from the ground up. So let's get started into this. I first wanted to just add on to what David already mentioned. Thanks for the introduction. It kind of gives my role. My background is also in teaching, instructional design, training, coaching, all of the good stuff, all the fun stuff. I am a Wisconsin native, currently in Madison, Wisconsin, father of four. So this is a relatively updated picture. I had to tap back to summer because it was the last picture that we saw, all kids. You're seeing the presenter view. Oh, okay, thank you. Let me share something else. All right. Let me do this one more time. Okay. I'll just do.
There we go.
Everybody
Technology.
just see just fine?
We're
Yeah,
thankful
great. You don't
for it.
need to
That's
see what
great.
I'm looking at. Perfect. I mean, if you're going to see anything in this slideshow, it's going to be this picture because, yeah, I mean, look at them. So this was the last picture. I think we got all the kids looking at the camera. This was in the summer at our 4th of July. And, just a happy time and place in our neighborhood with our friends and all together, the family. It's great. So father 4, 2, 4, 6, 8 with the kids, my lovely wife that puts up with me and all the activities I like to say yes to. And then just a little background, I've been part of our neighborhood association for 6 years now and been on the board, I'm sorry, as president the last 3 years. Just make sure that this keeps up. Good. Looks like you're seeing everything right. So quick agenda. So this is more of a storytelling narrative of kind of the struggles that we went through and some of the solutions that we put into place and the outcomes that we associated those solutions with. So we'll go through those, the Westmoreland story, our neighborhood background, some of the challenges, what we put together, quick introduction to the technology that we've now rolled out, and then a quick demo of it. First, I kind of want to get a pulse on everybody here, since I think that this is a pretty eclectic group. I was hoping to kind of understand who is doing what. So if I could, first of all, just get a thumbs up if you are a neighborhood leader. So if you're part of a board, if you're a core volunteer, anything that might be in that vicinity. Could I get a thumbs up from you all? Great. So I'm seeing kind of like 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 people. Great. Thank you. All right. Could I get, how about, let's see here. Could I get a little clap if you are affiliated to your city as either a leader, liaison, neighborhoods? Oh, look at that. Thanks, Mary. Thanks, Laura. Any others? Nancy. Hello, Heather. Thanks. And sorry if I missed anybody else. And then finally, let's maybe just send out a heart if you're just here because David has the best content and he's got the best blog for neighboring. How about a heart for David, huh? Okay, great. That one's for you, David. That's helpful though, just to kind of gauge who's on this call, because this is obviously very focused on neighborhood associations, but it can expand out to communities and cities. All right, so the Westmoreland story, it's just gave a little brief information about the neighborhood itself. And really the big topic here is that our community has transformed It's an engagement and connection by really embracing change and specifically thinking about three prongs here: people, events, and technology. I'll get into those three as we move forward, but major changes took place. We simplified our operations, fostering deep connections and being very intentionally to do so, and just doing more events, more fun, bigger impact. And as just a reference, last year we had 18 WNA, Westmoreland Neighborhood Association, sponsored events in our neighborhood. So it was both small and large events, and some things are in the middle. And all this to say, like our talking point, and from our neighborhood association, from the business, every neighborhood has the potential to do these types of things when all the right tools are in place. So I'm going to kind of go through what I call is our formula in ways that we have really pushed the needle forward. But first, I just want to give you a little slice of our neighborhood, one of our events, and I'll give this a play. And hopefully everybody can hear. It's relatively short, and it just gives a quick glimpse of who we are and who we serve.
Love the visuals. No sound, but we do love the visuals.
Oh, well, I guess I could provide a
Eh,
little narrative over this as well then.
eh,
I'm hearing the sound, but yeah, this is our summer nights event, and as we wrap up here, it's just a quick glimpse of the people that are involved in really it is all ages, from young children all the way through our elder community that meet up at a park, get together, good food, drinks, community bonding, always a couple bands that are playing some good music in the background. So before we get into oh, good question. So we got a question from Mary. How many volunteers? So that's actually a really interesting question because we've had historically large events as part of Westmoreland, typically the 4th of July. And I would say, as a way of how we've streamlined some of the way that we do things, it's typically three core individuals that do 80% of just the background stuff. And then it's more so day of volunteers where we just need some extra hands helping set up, helping take down, of course, and then we do a lot of sales of drinks, food, ice cream, that type of thing. So just a bunch of hands on the day of. But the idea here is, especially for these events, we want people to come and enjoy themselves and make that as simple as possible. So especially our sponsored events, we end up paying for a lot of vendors, which also takes the load off of ourselves in terms of setting up and taking down additional things. So that's a good question. Once a year event, quarterly, monthly. Well, Chet, we live in Madison, so you got to take advantage of the summertime weather. So we have like the majority of our events are in the summer. That said, we have a winter play date coming up. We have a wine and cheese coming up. We have a picnic in the park in the next couple of months, egg hunt, etc. So funding, grants, local funds. Yeah, Mary, great question. I'll get into that in just a minute here. Before I go any further, I want to hear from you all. So I had a poll set up. I'm not probably gonna mess around with that unless if it just works. No. So if you don't mind, let's do the poll. So what's the most memorable event that you've ever attended in your neighborhood? So it can be pretty simple. And then kind of the follow-up question to that, like what made it so special? So take a moment to reflect on that, and I'm kind of curious to hear and see some of the responses. Jennifer, fire truck parade, simple fun. Ice cream socials, good. Broad event, interesting. I'd like to hear a little bit more about that. Lemonade crawl, very cool. Community picnics, Halloween trick or treat. Health and safety fair. I'll keep on kind of going through a few more of these responses as we see them. And now the secondary follow-up is, what made them so special? Why is that a core memory for you? Flamingo Friday. Friday and gathering. Great. Brand new subdivision while living in Brownsville, new owners. Cool. Yard sales. Come outside, walking around. Monthly driveway chats because of new connections. Awesome.
No shortage of ideas there in the chat, for sure.
That's right. Yeah, no kidding. And as a driveway chat, is that a formal block party or is that just very informal, designated time and place?
Designate time and space, bring your lawn chair, meet your neighbors.
Love it.
David, I was just down in Florida visiting my in-laws, and they're at a 55 and up community. They have a happy hour in their little for their cul-de-sac and on their streets for all their neighbors every day at 4 o'clock. Everyone brings their lawn chairs. Not everybody makes it every day, but having that predetermined regular meetup time and schedule, I think is a great facilitator of bringing people together.
Yeah, wow, what an ambitious schedule. That's awesome.
I love all these that are coming through here. It's great. I mean, we have everything that we're seeing here. But what are we seeing here? Bottom line is it's the people, right? It's the connections, it's the human connections that increase social fabric, increase trust and social fabric. It's a more lively and vibrant neighborhood. So thank you for those responses. I love all these ideas. I'm going to save this chat here for my back pocket of introducing some new things here. And they still keep on coming through. I appreciate the responses. And I'm going to continue and feel free to keep an eye on those chats. Great responses. All right. Okay. So now we talked about some of the fun stuff. Let's get into the really nitty-gritty details of just where those pains and challenges were. So when I had taken over as president, it was kind of the tail end of COVID. I don't really like to put blame on any one particular thing, but obviously as a neighborhood association, that had a major impact on things. But what I had seen is that it wasn't the event itself. It wasn't COVID itself that really put us in poor condition. It was a continuing fragmentation that was just not sustainable. And so during that time period, it just made things worse. And I guess that's kind of symbolic of other things and other areas that were impacting our life during that time as well. So it's, there was already something there that didn't really look or feel right. And then during that period of time, it just made it worse. So I'll kind of go through those challenges and we'll have some interactions with, kind of building some commonality with these items as well. First of all, recruitment. That was probably the biggest one because we had half of a board and we were still trying to continue our operations of our existing events that we had on our calendar. So I'll keep that one as that. I'll touch base on that a little bit later. Financial stability was the next item. And that was really talking about what is our annual income? Where's our money coming from? What is our budget? Needless to say, we had a treasurer in place, but, we're not operating like a business. And it was more so like, hey, are we going to be able to make it through next month without having to reach out and ask for some money from somebody? And then finally, operational inefficiencies. I mean, that's pretty vague statement, but they were everywhere. From not having areas to save information for events to just replicate and share that with the next event owner, all the way through some of our technology things, which I'll get into right now. So payments, registration, contact information, it was all a mess. We had sometimes like personal Venmo accounts that we were taking payments from. We used PayPal, which was fine, but we didn't have the workflow figured out, where it was just a very poor experience. And really it hurt our credibility as an association. I would like to report, I don't know this for a fact, but I'd like to report that I've never heard of any kind of fraudulent activity that was associated with any payments to us, but it is a real thing. And you want to make sure that those things are set up correctly. And then registration and contact information, those go hand in hand. So the idea of somebody registering at your website is really getting their contact information so you can keep them in the loop. It's, marketing 101, right? We didn't have ways to capture that information, one. And secondly, even if we did, we didn't have a way to have that information go to our email platform, what's called an API. It's basically an integration that takes that information and then automatically uploads it to whatever system you are using for emailing. Tons of manual work that we were doing just to try to keep information up to date. And we were stuck in this vicious cycle. So I'm, looking at this picture here, higher cost, higher complexity, everything was kind of harder. Our security was not great. We had meeting minutes that were being scraped from our website, and we were getting scammed using contextually correct names for both president, treasurer, and there were these contextual scams that were being sent out to anybody that was affiliated with our board, i.e. Core volunteers, committee members, etc. And they were all getting emails from my name. It wasn't my email address, but it was my name. And it was very contextually driven. And those things were scraped from our meeting minutes. So, and we continue this circle. It was just harder to sustain. I was having a hard time getting people on board, working with us, and then just having a hard time getting more volunteers. So this was what we were facing come, I think it was, I don't know, mid 2021. And I'll stop here. This is the fun time where we get to talk about all of our woes. So again, right through the chat, there's kind of four options here. It kind of breaks it off into main pieces here. What do you see right now as the biggest challenge facing your organization? So it can be your city, your neighborhood, maybe it's a larger community, whatever you're part of. What are some of those bigger challenges? And if it's not 1, 2, or 3, please list that out. So you can just put a number in there if you want, and then feel free to expand on those items. So I'll give you a little bit of time. I should have a little background music here for everybody. Sorry about that, David.
No,
Man,
well, I could
next time.
sing. I could sing, but I don't want everybody to leave, so we can just
Yeah, let's keep them on.
Neighborhood facing predatory rezoning issues. That can be something negative external.
Yeah.
Working with organizations that are currently in place. Reestablishing the organization after many years. A lack of neighbor interest and participation. 1 and 2, lots of agreement there. Recruitment participation with city government. Yes. I think there'll be a lot of people say they face challenges with recruitment, right? Or just getting people interested. So many people are choosing intentional isolation. Chet says people are disconnected. There's no efforts focused on bringing residents together with immediate neighbors on their block. Debbie, financial sustainability. We are a nonprofit. Neighborhoods need education to empower themselves. There's a lack of education among city residents, don't know how to, and it's overwhelming. Especially recruitment, retention, communicating the value of joining. Ooh, that's a big one. We're doing a neighborhood leadership summit in March in Springfield, and telling your story of value is our theme this year.
Yeah, great responses. Keep them coming in. So it ranges, right? I mean, there's an education component here. There's a financial component. There's just a general operational component, volunteers, a lot of within this realm right here. So I kind of queued it up in this fashion because we're going to both touch base on people, i.e. the recruitment side of things, events, which kind of goes into some of the finances, And then operational efficiencies, technology, that is, obviously a big one for us here. But these are pretty heavily weighted in terms of pillars within an organization. I'm just going to read a couple more comments here. Whoops, I'm sorry about that before I get moving here. Neighborhoods, things to do stuff. Yeah, Mary, good comment there. Neighborhoods think city is the only funder for projects. Yeah, grant writing, it's all possible, education, fundraising, etc. And I would even argue, there's another layer to this. At a certain point, there's a organization among one's own neighborhood association where it becomes self-sustainable. So that is the end goal here. And I'll kind of walk you through the steps that we took. All right. So thank you again for sharing your challenges. What I wanted to go through then is kind of addressing our three-prong approach: people, events, and technology. So the people part of it, there's three parts to the people part of it. First of all, it was board members. And when it was late 2021, there were 4 or 5 vacancies on the board, and we really took a lot of time to be very focused on what are the needs. So we're not looking for bodies to fill into the board. We're looking for very specific needs. So I'll just go really quick on to 2 of those. One, we needed new technology. We needed to blow it all up and start over. So we had a director of software engineering. It just so happened that young kids wanting to be involved in his neighborhood, and so picked him up as a core volunteer on the board. And secondly, had another individual. She loved writing, social media, pushing content out. A neighbor, a friend of ours, and I reached out and I just asked her if she wanted to be part of our board, and specifically our communications chair. So just 2 examples where there's a very specific need, and filling in those needs on the board had made a huge difference right from the start. So that's the first one is board members. The second one is city leaders. And feel free, I know we have a couple city leaders on here. Feel free to chime in with some feedback here. We have relationships with our alder. So our neighborhood is part of a district. And so that alder is part of the common council. Very good relationship there, where we're sending him information about what we are doing, what we're working on, some of the larger initiatives. And in turn, he provides direct feedback to the neighborhood association about some of the things that are coming through to our neighborhood and or maybe the district level. So alders, district supervisors are more at a county level. So it's more city impact versus just neighborhood specific, but we know who that is. They've been to our board meetings. They're going to speak at our annual meetings. And then finally, kind of the 2 pieces from our experience, not to say that this is the magic wand, but from a city perspective, both City of Madison employees that we've connected with, and then also the Parks Division. So the point is there, like defining processes. How do we get things done? Who are the people that we need to go through? A lot of that stuff is not very common knowledge, and it's not like there's a playbook online that's available just to go through that. So having those relationships with city leaders was really important for us to move things forward and try new things at our events and work on new initiatives. And then finally, with people, so I've talked about board members, I've talked about city leaders, and now I have a bunch of logos down here, which represents not just sponsorship, but business connections for sponsorship. So we are supporting our local businesses, the businesses right in our neighborhood or surrounding our neighborhood. And in turn, we get financial support to offset costs for our events, and advertising for them means, supporting our local businesses. So this is kind of how I wrapped up all of our elements of people, board members, city leaders, and business connections. I'm just going to just take a peek at the chat right now to see if there's anything worth talking about right now. Mary, thanks for all the examples in here.
Yeah, she really talks about being able to get local students to help with some projects. And really that kind of goes back to looking to the asset based community development, looking at the assets and gifts right in your neighborhood?
That's a good one because we have two schools in our neighborhood, and we often tap these schools for really basic types of volunteer roles at our larger events, the ones that you can just kind of have anybody run, like ages 10 and up. So we tap the schools as a way to figure out, are there any kind of volunteering requirements, or if there's a email list that you can send out to. It's a great one. And it's a great experience for them to get, the understanding idea of volunteering at an early age. I know my kids understand it already, fortunately or unfortunately. Always come to the park with me for setup, for the day of. All right. The next one then. So the Westmoreland story, we're continuing the story out here. Solutions implemented for events. So this one is more self-explanatory, but we were very intentional about adding in both small and large events. So some of our smaller events, an appreciation for our block captains. Our block captains are those who deliver our newsletter. Something very small, like, only 15 people attended, but it was an appreciation for those who deliver those newsletters every month and a half to 2 months. I also want to mention that our neighborhood association covers the costs of block party permits. Now, there's still kind of a paperwork effort to do the permits for the block party, and if you do food, drinks, anything like that. But our neighborhood association covers the cost of that permit. I think it's around $50. And that's just a service that we offer for any of our residents. And then last year, I just wanted to mention, and you can see it right here, we hosted 18 events as part of our neighborhood association. And again, we are just a neighborhood, not just, but we are a neighborhood of about 1,000 addresses. So just to give some context in terms of the size of our neighborhood. The top right was a wine and cheese event done over Valentine's Day. And then the bottom left was one of our summer nights events. You can see some bubbles, tents set up, food carts in the back, kids everywhere, everywhere. And it's just one of those events that people put on their calendars. All right. And then finally, technology. This was probably our biggest frustration, personally speaking, because I can honestly say that we spent hundreds of hours trying to make very sophisticated systems work in terms of how to become a member, paying for your membership, how to track those members, if sending out lists to all of our block captains of who have not been members yet. So really simple reporting, but it's not simple when you don't have good software. So it was a big thing for us. And we started to shift over. We kind of blew everything up, and we introduced our digital member directory. So all members of our neighborhood association have access to this online. We have an event calendar that you can simply subscribe to. Click of a button, it goes to your digital calendar. And then really a big piece that we focused on was membership management. So the ability to register, again, contact details. How do I engage with my neighborhood? You get their contact information. And part of that membership is a donation. We have a sliding scale, which worked out actually pretty nice, from a lower dollar amount to a mid-range dollar amount to a higher dollar amount. And they selected one. Again, that's just a donation. They didn't have to do that, but it was a good part of our funding. And to be fully transparent, from our last year, we pulled in $15,000 from membership dues just for our neighborhood. I'll stop talking in a moment here when we'll open up for another little activity. So I just wanted to kind of acknowledge the big challenges that we faced a while back in 2021, 4 years ago, 4 long years ago, and kind of some of the outcomes and results that we're seeing. So first of all, we've had our most successful membership drive on record. We're at nearly 50%. We're not we need to be perfect at 100%. It's not going to happen, right? I mean, you're not going to get the buy-in from some people, and that's okay. But our goal is to get as many people connected into our funnel of How do I communicate with them? And in turn, giving back some financial support into our neighborhood. We had high volunteer engagement. I'll give you a really quick example for our wine and cheese event. We sent out an email to individuals who said that they were interested in volunteering on our membership form. Within 2.5 hours, we had 20 volunteers, all 20 slots filled up. It was done. I mean, that stuff just doesn't happen normally, right? Like, it's so hard to get volunteers. And that was just one good example of like, something's working here, right? Yeah, thanks, Dion. Appreciate the hand clapping. I thought so too.
Jess, I think
The
I think
yeah.
wouldn't you say though it's your efforts at communication that is kind of key to that? I mean, you're working in the areas of change agency, right? And
Yep.
communication's a big part of that. Is that kind of what you would credit that to, what you're describing?
Communication is a big part. I hadn't really intended to go through all of our communication channels today, but even before communication, it goes back to some basic things. If you don't have the infrastructure set up, i.e., how do you get them to register and get their contact details? How do you follow up with them? So that's the first part of it before you can even communicate. How are you getting information? And then how are you getting into the system that you actually communicate with them?
Mm. Yeah.
So yes, David, huge part of it. So we do email campaigns, we do our newsletter, we post topics or pages on our website. We of course have social media, but that is more of supplemental for us. It's everything resides on our website, and then we push things out into socials. We push things out into our newsletter, but everything will reside in our website because if things change, which things always change, we live in a world of change, update the website and it's always your true information.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So just a couple final outcomes. Growing event attendance, we hit roughly, this is the best possible estimate, 2,000 people at our July 3rd event last year. And really the bigger thing here is we have more goodwill among our administration, meaning city folks around us, more open for working relationships, our own members and our neighbors. It has a different feel to it when you are walking around. People know each other because we are constantly doing things to get people out their front door. And then, we're going to one of the funding pieces, and I see a lot of questions coming through. So I'll try to take a chance to address some of those. More events funded by our sponsors, wanting to back our association. I'll give a really quick example of something, not all things have to be big. For our wine and cheese event, we have 2 sponsors. One offsets the costs of our wine. One offsets the cost of our entertainment, our band. And then we also have somebody who just happens to work for one of the largest cheese companies in the world on our board. So we have a good cheese platter every time. And my point is, we're not trying to make money off of these events, but we are finding ways to offset costs, even for very special events like that, around 100 participants. So all this to wrap up our conversation, where are we at today? We have more volunteers coming in. We're making a bigger impact. We're serving our members. We have more members. And now we're kind of out of this vicious cycle of like, I don't even want to be part of this. Now it's to the point like, how are we going to share this? How do we share this? And so that's kind of leads us up to the segue that I'll get into in just a moment here. But we're having a lot of fun making a big impact. And this is, the types of forums that we want to spend more time on. Like, how do we share this stuff out? Because this recipe that we've put together, it wasn't easy, but it's there now, and we're making a huge impact. So our next poll here, just to kind of get a better idea, a sense of, the people around here, just drop a single word in the chat that describes your neighborhood, community, I guess city, it's a pretty big area to describe it as one word, but try to do so in your best fashion that describes it right now. And while you do that, I'll just give a little context for the pictures here. So right now, for anybody that's not familiar with Madison, Wisconsin, our park looks like this in the bottom left. It's frozen. We have big ice skating rinks, which is fun, but it's cold. So that's kind of our recreational state right now. And the picture in the top right is our Halloween party. We had a street full of participants. I looked down, I took a picture, and I just thought, this is amazing. Our street was full of participants for our Halloween party. All right, so I'll give a little bit more time to drop a word in the chat that describes your neighborhood right now. Eclectic, love that word. Diverse, lost,
As
dog walkers, love it.
as some of those are flowing in, did you see the questions about the fundraising levels? Did you publish donated amounts? Was it confidential?
I'm working my way up here.
And I think especially a question you mentioned raising 15,000. Was that in a month or was that in a year?
Oh, Chet. Yeah, thank you,
Yes.
Chet. You mentioned you had 15,000 last month. It was from our membership drive. So we have kind of a range when we kick off our membership. We start late summer, so August, September time. And then really we do one last push at the end of December, early January. And the idea is that membership is active or valid from January 1 through December 31st. And I'll kind of show why that's important in a little bit while I do a demo. We have a pretty cool discount program.
Well, some other neighborhood words we have declining. We do have isolation, dog walkers, rebuilding, stratified. Suzanne gets the dictionary award for the day.
Yeah, yeah, thank you.
Lost, isolated, eclectic, diverse.
Yeah, I appreciate
Lots of
all the
rebuilding
comments.
words there.
Yeah, I would have said this isn't about me right now at this point. You know, I want to hear from everybody, and I would say if I were to describe this 3 years, I would have said declining. You know, there was definitely something there that just felt very stagnant, and things were just slowly eroding. Room for improvement. Thanks, David. Separated. Good, good. So yeah, I mean, I think it's just a nice way to kind of reflect like on the state of what your perception is, right? It's still perception, but you know, where are we at right now and what do we want to be? So this kind of segues into kind of this idea of we were stuck in this vicious cycle, right? And we put all these systems in place, people in place, events, relationships, sponsors, technology, all these things in place. And now, you know, we got to the point where how do we share this out? So I'm here to introduce Neighbor.Exchange. We're a web development agency, and it's built for and by neighborhoods. So I'll get into the next slide of just show you, you know, who my partners are. My partners are fellow board members. So Connor and Mike are both on the board with me on the Westmoreland Neighborhood Association board. Connor is our technology guy, and then Mike is our development chair. Connor has a huge background in software engineering and technology, Wisconsin native, father of three, you know, young kids. And then Mike, he's a director of development for a property management group, entrepreneur, builder, operator, background in economics, Wisconsin native, father of three, and then he's our development chair for the association. So my point is, you know, my partners, we all come from different perspectives. We're, you know, all in Madison, Wisconsin, all in the same neighborhood, but very different backgrounds, professional wise. And we're bringing a unique perspective to how we can operationalize something within a neighborhood space. So, it's kind of ironic, right? Where we are reading more and more about, kind of trying to get away from social media, and we have too much technology. Yet here I am talking about technology, right? So I'll first acknowledge the idea of embracing technology is almost counterintuitive to some of the trends and what we are seeing online and in the research. So, I wanted to get a little bit more into this, but I want to be mindful of time. There's a lot of pieces to this. There's the loneliness, strengthening community, increasing involvement within one's community. But then there's also this two-coined piece where you need to provide transparency as an association, but also have the security piece to ensure trust with people's information. There's another piece of, how do I reduce the barrier for participation? For instance, a lot of our event leads, they have access to our website where they just manage their content. They can just update it themselves, right? So they go in, add the event, they either send out the communication or send it to our comms chair, and then it's just this very easy process that we follow now. And now we have this ecosystem of everything that we used to do on paper. We still have an option to do a lot of those things on paper, like our membership form, our checks. We still take and accept checks for our neighborhood association. We still have a paper courier. But a lot of these things have been digitized to increase our operations and efficiencies. All right, so I just wanted to highlight quick the core functions of Neighbor.Exchange. It's a website providing role-based access. So in other words, I had the example of our meeting minutes. Our meeting minutes were being pulled from scammers, and our neighborhood association was getting scammed because they were able to pull these meeting minutes. Now on Westmoreland's website, nobody can get to them except Westmoreland Neighborhood Association active members. We also have an event calendar that you can subscribe to, blogs for interacting with one another, member directory, I mentioned that already. And then a couple big things, having a secure payment system in place, and then also having a CRM, customer relationship management tool. In other words, how do we collect information from anybody who registers? And then that tool is integrated with the email. So anytime we capture that information, it's already part of that audience list. And then near-term items that we're looking at for Neighbor.Exchange is the ability to text. All these things, like, yeah, it's good, but you don't want to abuse it, right? I mean, we just got through an election campaign, so we're probably all fatigued from texting right now. And then a marketplace function that you would kind of see through like a Facebook type of application, but it would be hyper-focused on your neighborhood association. Okay, I want to open up the poll here and kind of understand and better gauge, if you had an idea, what would you want to implement for your community to increase engagement? So this is kind of a larger concept and topic, but really trying to understand, like, if you could have one thing that you wanted to move the needle on to increase engagement, what would you do? What would you target? And while you're thinking about that, this picture was just fun because I took it in our City of Madison Metro bus as the bus driver was being escorted out by our mounted patrol at one of our events that we had at the park. So we do get city involvement with our events too. It's a great way to have on our side free entertainment, and from the city side, it's really good PR, quite frankly, to have representatives from different offices being there at the park.
Ideas. I see movie night pop up, and as others are typing in their ideas, there was a neighborhood in Springfield last year that did silent movie nights, which I thought was interesting.
Oh,
Some old classic movies that are in the public domain, so you don't have to get licensing permission for them. And then there's not a lot of noise from the movie if your immediate neighbors don't want to participate, or if your homes are
yeah.
close together.
Yeah, that's interesting. Our neighborhood has been kind of obsessed with having fireworks come back to the neighborhood, and it's just not possible given the proximity of everything in our neighborhood. So this year we're doing a drone light show on our July 3rd event, and it's just a really unique opportunity to try to honor some of that tradition of fireworks without having the noise and fire
Yeah.
fire within our
Wow.
park. So it's a really, we'll see how it goes. It's our first time running through it.
That's awesome. Several movie nights mentioned here in a game in a park, and then a game night, video games, board games. That'd be a fun way to connect with people. Silent
Yeah,
disco night.
yeah, I love it. So as we start to see those chats coming through, I'm going to switch gears and just stop presenting here for a second. And I'm just going to go through a quick demo of a website that we have up and just kind of go through some of the core features of how we can get organized in a way to pull in member information and in turn be able to engage and be able to build into our website so we can have more events to connect, have different ways to connect among our neighborhood. So I'm going to stop sharing here. We'll do a 5-minute demo of the site itself. And then I'll open up for any other questions, and I can stick around as well after if there are more specific types of questions. Okay, so thanks for your patience. I'm going to share my browser now. Just give me a moment here. So we're going to take a little tour of Oakwood. Oakwood is a fictitious neighborhood, but we created this just for our demo. So, I'm just kind of going to go with the narrative that I'm a new member and I wanted to go to our website that was created. So I can see that we have different types of news here that's posted by our board members. I'm going to scroll through here quick, and here's our president, why become a member? Okay, I can read about that a little bit more. Developments that are going on, and this is from our vice president. And then, oh, hey, we launched a new website, and this is from our director of technology. I can go through events. So again, I'm brand new to the website. I don't have any registration to the website. I can go through, and for each event, it has the venue and additional details. You can subscribe to that individual event, or my favorite, and I share this on so many of our emails, you can go to subscribe to calendar, and then it'll just go to your Google, iCalendar, Outlook, etc. And so what I really like about having a subscribe feature, our events shift. Our events shift. Sometimes it's specific times, sometimes it's descriptions or added in detail. And my point is, when you subscribe, all that detail gets updated into your digital calendar rather than manually doing that. So people are always up to date. There's a shopping feature, if you have some brand identity and want to really lean into that, why not have some merch? And so now I come into this, I'm like, okay, well, I want to see who's in the neighborhood here. And before I do that, I'll just show you kind of the security protocols here. So again, I'm not a member at the moment. I'm going to go into the member directory. Okay, member directory is only available to association members. So either log in or become a member today. So if I want to become a member, it takes me through, do you want to do basic program, standard, plus? I can pay my donation, provide all my contact details, and then I'll become a member. So then once I become a member, I can log in. And now I have access to that member directory. So the point here with that quick demo is that there are items on a website that should be locked down for members only. Meeting minutes, member directory. If there's exclusive member types of benefits on your website, you can have those locked down to your members. And in turn, you can even have a kind of a middle layer of security. Anybody that registers, gives their basic contact details, will have access to X, Y, or Z. You can see, who's on the board. And so we can see all of our board members and their roles here. And now I have a quick idea of who those board members are. And then finally, I wanted to show this to everybody here because I still am seeing way too much contact information online for other associations. The idea with a contact form just like this, it's nothing sophisticated, but the idea is that you want to keep your personal information off websites, you and your other board members, volunteers, etc. When we talk about scams and frauds, this is one piece of it where right now there's just too much information on websites that are there. And so this form is just a simple one that basically it is the person submitting the question that has to provide their information. And then just have it directed to your board email or whoever's email you want it sent to. So I'll stop talking here. I've done a lot of talking up to this point. I'll first ask any questions about the website itself. And this is just a quick preview of some of the functions. A lot more to be built out in the very near future. Any questions with how are the membership levels different? Lydia, the membership levels from how we've used them so far are nothing different besides what the person is willing to contribute. So for instance, if you have a sliding scale of 25, 50, 100, we've seen most of the time people are just going to pick that middle ground. It's kind of more of a psychology thing, but also the folks that just don't have as much to contribute, totally fine. $25, they have all the same access. Those that have a little bit more to contribute, $100, and it's and all that comes back to the board for the services that we provide. Okay, good questions. So Laura, Kevin, I see questions obviously about the amount for this. So everything can be found on our website. Our full service right now is $2,500 annually. And I wanted to put a plug in because we are truly trying to be the best in class for neighborhood associations, also HOAs, villages, it all can be related here. And we're looking at our product and trying to build out a more affordable platform for smaller associations like neighborhoods, right? So we found out pretty quickly that $2,500 annually is a stretch for individual neighborhoods. Now it might be different for HOAs or villages or larger neighborhoods, but we're trying to build out a platform that will be much more feasible for associations. And in turn, we're offering flexibility for cities to adopt this, or if they have, for instance, 50 neighborhoods, obviously there'll be a price discount there.
As you all know, some of you that have been in Neighboring 101 for a long time, I think Jesse's the first example of a speaker we've ever had on that had a product to sell, a business model that's typically not we've done. But I asked Jesse on because of his experience in being a change agent and because of his experience in the neighborhoods, because this really developed out of their own experience. And I really felt like that was a valuable thing to hear and some valuable examples that he brings to the table with that beyond even the product that they do have available that may work for some cities and some organizations.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Dave.
I've got a question for you.
Yes, please.
Patty.
What is the average age of your neighborhood association?
Would you mind repeating that question? I heard the second part of it.
What is your average age of your neighborhood association?
Average age?
Yeah, and the demographics maybe of your neighborhood.
Oh, I have a good guess. I just don't have solid information. In our neighborhood association, I will say in the last 10 years, it's shifted dramatically to younger families. I would say right now it's probably about a 30-70 split in terms of younger families, meaning kids of being at home all the way through high school, and then about 30% roughly. And this is kind of what I see from membership data. And I would say about 30% of those who are retired.
So you're just about the opposite of ours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the idea when we rolled out so much of our technology, we've kind of recognized that we want to honor and keep processes in place that still accommodate a need for those who want the paper newsletter, that want to write checks, that want to fill out the paper membership directory. And we've built that into all of our processes that everything still feeds into our website, even with the paper forms.
Well, I really enjoyed your presentation. It gave me a lot to think about.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just kind of scratching all of the other questions here. I know I haven't addressed anything, but I can stay online as well. And I guess my last plug here is that, again, we are coming from a neighborhood association and we've seen the impact play out the last couple of years. And I really feel strongly to the point of obsession now where we want to continue to share this out in any way we can. And the technology is one piece that we can tangibly do so. So I appreciate everybody's time here and feel free to check out our website or subscribe to our website. And we have socials, my emails right there. I put it in the chat. And then if you want to schedule any meetings with me, happy to chat further and happy to stay on the line.
I love your passion, Jesse, and thanks for joining us. I'll tell you what, I'm going to stop the recording, and for those that want to stay online and visit with you and ask questions, they can. And then I'm going to open up those 2 breakout
Great.
rooms for people that want to jump into those. So